Is that right?
Exactly.
We need to change our way, our thoughts, or because I guess in a way then what you're saying here as well is that it's because of our the powerful nature of the human mind that they can maintain a reality picture as long as everyone has the similar thought patterns or similar mindset about world events. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, and that is why the news services are so coordinated. I mean, everywhere you go, it's the same BBC, CNN. It's the same over and over.
Yeah.
And the same news. And so everybody must know the same and understand the same with no deviation.
Right.
And that's why there is this acceptance of what is going on. There was, after 9/11 in Europe, especially in France, a realization that it was staged event, that it was manufactured, that it was actually the government of the U.S. that has created this. And then what happened? This big furor occurred, and they were made to apologize and retract these terrible anti-American statements. And then Bush says, well, either you're with me or you're against me. So there was no in-between. It was only extremes.
Yeah.
If you didn't agree, then you were a terrorist.
Of course, yeah.
Yes. And so the whole world acquiesced to this really programming, mind control.
Indeed, and this is again it's multifaceted because there's another level, of course, to that as well, and that's a kind of the trauma of the situation, because we know now that trauma is a huge part of how to mind control someone. Isn't that right, Stewart?
That's correct. Through trauma, the personality of a person becomes fractured into compartments, and those compartments can then be rewired or reprogrammed into alter personalities, subpersonalities, partial personalities, even what we call constructs of buildings and other things that become part of a new matrix of the mind, which is artificially installed over the pieces of the original one. It's a tremendous science, and they have found geometrically that the shape of this matrix, when fractured to its completeness, forms a cube of 13 by 13 by 13, which means there are 2,197 compartments within a human mind that can be controlled and altered.
Is that similar to that there can be 2,197 personalities then as well?
Theoretically, yes. However, if that were to occur, the human mind could get overloaded, and then, quite honestly, the person can go insane. There can be severe trauma physically that then does not allow the programming to occur. And we see this a lot in prisons and mental institutions, where these people have just been overloaded and could not handle it, and so had a breakdown of a mind pattern.
Right. Because in a way, the human brain actually works like a patch bay in many ways. It's like a circuit board or a neural. It's a network of signals basically being sent back and forth all the time. So if we have too many personalities, as it were, or different encoders of the electrical signals, that would eventually overload if you have too many of the signals going back and forth in a way, so it would fry basically.
Right. It's just like when you have a computer that's too many windows are open, it freezes.
Right.
And then you have to unplug it. But unfortunately, with human beings, that usually involves death. But I want to make a distinction between mind and brain. You are a mind. Mind is pure energy, and the brain is the device that the mind uses to experience the physical reality.
Yes.
So it's two different things, but they're connected.
Yeah. And if we talk about colors and think what a color is, for instance, it basically is light fractured or split up in one frequency that is being bounced back at you. It basically is photons, right? So I mean,
exactly. It is a frequency. it's a vibration
Right.
of a particular rate that manifests in that color.
And that specific frequency then is something that if you personally are in a position where you can be healed by a certain frequency, a color obviously then would be beneficial or helpful to you. Is that correct?
Yes, because each color or frequency has a function, and if you know the proper way to create a sentence of the colors, if you will, or a combination of the colors for a particular mind pattern, yes, you can correct anything.
Very interesting. And how about the other way around? Can colors be used as even as triggers in mind control and things like this?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that is why in my work I list specifically colors that one should never put into a human energy field. You may see them in an energy field, but you must never put them in.
What's the difference there? How is something being put into?
Well, for example, if the color of mind control waves is a very dark yellow or mustard yellow color, so if you're working on a person or using healing energy, you must never transmit that color to the person.
Mm-hmm.
You could see this color in a person, but you must mitigate that and never enter it in.
Okay, I see. Interesting.
As an example, just like you might see a person has heavy metal toxins, but you don't put them into.
Right, of course. Yes, I got you. Huh. Interesting. And how about this thing with archetypal images? I mean, this is powerful. We can even talk about symbol or symbolism itself. I mean, in many cases, we can see that the Illuminati, the hierarchical system that controls, money, banking, and in many cases, of course, corporate and the kind of the commerce structure, they prominently use symbols all the time. We have logos, we have, heraldry. There's so many of these around. Why are a symbol or even an archetypal symbol so important to the power structure, you think?
Because they know that is part of the language of creation. And if they use a particular shape in a particular color, it will give off a vibration or a set of instructions that they want to transmit to whoever views this. And so, even the Illuminati are subject to language of hyperspace because they are, whatever they are, they're part of creation as well.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
So this can be, again, as we mentioned, it can be used both ways, but also it can, I guess, for me, in a way, what I feel right now is that a symbol per se is not evil. It's about the intent of the person who created the symbol, and foremost, if the person is not, smart enough or intelligent enough to understand what the symbol is supposed to convey, then it becomes, dangerous, or potentially not dangerous, perhaps, but potentially can influence you at that point. Would you say that's correct?
Well, the symbols themselves, like you say, they're not good or bad, they just are. And they have a particular meaning or function that is a creation of the vibration. But if a person doesn't, even if a person doesn't understand consciously the meaning of a symbol, subconsciously they do, because it's part of their makeup, it's part of the composition of existence. And so, even though they may not understand the specific meaning on a visual level, they do on a subconscious level.
Right.
So it's really a question of how this is being transmitted. For example, I don't know if you have in Sweden, there's a department store called Target.
No, we don't have it, but I know of it, yeah.
Yes, and the symbol for the pineal gland is a royal blue circle with a royal blue dot in the middle. Well, the symbol for this Target store is a red circle with a red dot in the middle.
Right.
So they've taken the pineal gland energy, and they've taken and turned the color into anger and sexuality. So when a person sees this logo on the store, immediately they're sexually triggered, and they feel like their sexual needs can be met in this place.
interesting.
With brilliance, really.
Well, of course, exactly. And I mean, at this point, we also know that in many cases, these really big corporations, they are have been investigating a lot of the background in regards to psychology on how to even market, how to make a brand powerful. We know that we're flooded all the time with so many symbols. So the market, if you will, of the corporate structure is over flooded as well. So they need something that is powerful that can breach through and penetrate through that wall of advertisements that is out there. So, for instance, we know that McDonald's, for instance, they choose a bright red background on a with the golden yellow arches, because that kind of heightens you, that makes you more stressful, but it's also a very powerful combination of colors as far as I've been able to interpret that, and it actually makes it makes manifest within your consciousness in another way. For example, a more fancy restaurant might go with more lighter colors that aren't so aggressive, if you will. And there's a fascinating kind of discovery to make in how they use and how they market with colors as well,
Absolutely, and people should note every season when the fashion comes out or whatever the popular clothing line is for that year, people should look at the colors that are being promoted, because that is a clue to the kind of programming that's being enhanced at that period of time. And we always see, especially in business, a lot of gray, navy blue colors. And gray is a symbol of confusion and doubt. And navy blue is worry about the future, aggressiveness in many different ways. And so these are the colors that are promoted in business.
That's interesting.
So that's very interesting too.
And blue, of course, obviously, that's very prominent, as you say, in a lot of commerce and banking. And of course, I'm thinking of the relationship to the ocean and the whole maritime thing that is going on with the blue, and even the Blue Lodge of Freemasonry, right?
Yes, but remember, it's navy blue because there's many different shades, and each shade has a different meaning. For example, ice blue is a color for communication, and also can be used in healing to reduce fever and swelling and bleeding, and even blood pressure. So we must be careful with the shading when we talk about the colors, because the intensities and the shadings make very different meanings.
And would you say that there is, within one specific color, let's take blue, I mean, are there a limited number of sets within what the frequency can do with you? What I'm asking here is that if we, for example, look at a computer, a gradient of the color, we can have millions of different, frequencies, I guess, within the range of blue. Is that the same in regards to what you're talking about? Is there this much variety in every single field of each color?
Yes, there are nuances. Nuances to the meanings and refinements to the meanings depending on the intensities, yes. It gets more distinct as the shading gets distinct. So you'd have to look at the color charts and see where it really starts to change. Right.
Well, it's very interesting. And talking of archetypal images and even colors for that matter as well, wasn't it you who actually talked about the Teletubbies in one of your talks?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that. That's fascinating.
Well, I usually talk about that in my language of hyperspace class and the DNA class, because I talk about the DNA hyperspace sentence consists of 4 symbols, each one representing one of the protein bases in the DNA sequence. And so here we have the 4 Teletubbies in 4 different colors with 4 different symbols on their head, which are archetype symbols. So in the class, they learn the meanings of various colors. They learn the various some of the symbols. I mean, there's billions of symbols. And so I say, here's the Teletubbies. What is their sentence saying from the top of their head? And the sentence comes out that they are creating robots from space, which is basically about satellite the other interesting thing about Teletubbies is that every now and then they'll flash on the screen this radiating